Well, it would. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October 22nd meeting of the Design Development Review Commission. The commission is made up of volunteers with expertise or interest in historic preservation and design. We generally meet on the second Thursday of the month to review cases. However, this is a special called meeting as a result of the crisis, the water crisis, I call it. The commission is supported by the city's urban planning and historic preservation staff who are here today, and please let them know if you have any questions, taking care to not impede the proceedings. The meeting generally proceeds with staff calling the case and describing it. The applicant may also come forward and add to the basic description of the request if necessary. If so, please try to keep your presentation to less than 10 minutes. The commissioners will then have the opportunity to ask questions. After this period, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience who wishes to speak for or against the proposal. Audience comments shall be kept to 2 minutes per person. If there is, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. This rebuttal shall be kept to 5 minutes. In most of the cases, we will make a decision tonight after all information has been presented. If your case is denied or if you feel that our decision was made in error, You and anyone withstanding have the opportunity to appeal it within 30 days of the decision. All decisions of this commission are based on existing guidelines and ordinances. If you plan to speak about a specific project, you must have signed in. The sheet is at the back of the room and/or at the podium when you come up. Please note that these meetings are streamed live, recorded, and broadcast, so please use discretion with any personal information you may choose to share in the course of these proceedings. It is important also that all testimony and discussion by all parties, including commissioners, be centered on and relative to the pertinent guidelines and ordinances. Will anyone who plans to speak please stand? Raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm to tell the truth in these proceedings? Thank you. Have a seat. Will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gressett?
Here.
Mr. Herger?
Here.
Mr. Powell?
Here.
Mr. Savory?
Here.
Mr. Nguyen?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you very much. We have an agenda that will be amended, we believe. Do you think we should read the agenda as it is currently first, or go ahead and read the projected amended agenda?
Why don't I read the agenda as it is, and then we'll amend.
Very good.
Would you like me to start with the changes from the publicized agenda? Okay. So the agenda stands as it was published most recently, with the exception of item number 4 under the historic agenda, which is 1319 Gladden Street, which is a request for a certificate of design approval for exterior changes and new construction in the Melrose Heights Oaklawn Architectural Conservation District, and that's been deferred. And then those are all the changes on the agenda at this point in time. We do have the consent agenda. We could certainly go ahead and take action on that.
Okay. The Design Development Review Commission uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. Examples of such items include residential site improvements such as fences, minor exterior changes, or signage. If a member of the DDRC or the general public want to discuss an item on the consent agenda at the beginning of the meeting, that item is removed from the consent agenda and considered during the meeting. The DDRC then approves the remaining consent agenda items. Would you read that consent agenda, please?
Certainly. 3217 Lyle Street is a request for a certificate of design approval for new construction in the Earlwood Protection Area A. 1110 Haygood Avenue is also a request for a certificate of design approval for exterior changes in the Melrose Heights Oaklawn Architectural Conservation District. And 115 Saluda Avenue is a request for preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill in the Wales Garden Architectural Conservation District.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to remove an item from the consent agenda? I'll now ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda as it stands.
Mr. Chairman, based on the recommendation of staff, I'll make the motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? We'll vote on that by roll.
Mr. Gressett?
Yes.
Mr. Herger?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Very good. Now, for the regular agenda, we are going to suggest or ask for a motion to adjust this agenda
That's right.
in its current form. We will look at item number 5, which is 2127, 2133 Divine Street, and move it.
I think we ought to move it to the back,
To the
bottom
back.
of the agenda.
To the bottom of the agenda. That would bring forward then 1501 Lady Street to the forefront
We
of
can
the
do that.
agenda. And we will do an informational presentation by John. And we will have that prior to both of these other cases. Is that correct?
Either order y'all wish would be fine.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept that change to the agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. We'll vote by roll.
Mr. Gressett?
Yes.
Mr. Herger?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Very good.
Okay. We'll start with 1501 Lady Street, which is a request for a preliminary approval for the Bailey Bill and for a certificate of design approval for exterior changes. This is an individual landmark, and I might just mention, I'm not sure that Mr. Lewis was sworn in.
Very good, sir. If you raise your right hand, do you affirm to tell the truth in these proceedings? Very good. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is an individual landmark at 1501 Lady Street called the Siebel's Bruce Building from 1949, and the applicant is seeking preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill. At present, the project is not affecting the exterior of the building except for some minor general maintenance. However, they are requesting an alteration to the interior lobby of the building, the main lobby on the first floor. The Bailey Bill ordinance does allow review for interior primary public spaces, and therefore this is the item that is being reviewed today. The ordinance indicates that historic character of a property should be retained and preserved. So staff is recommending that the Bailey Bill does receive preliminary certification, but with the condition that this lobby ceiling remain intact. I believe this is probably an original drawing that they obtained in the left corner with showing a profile which shows the plaster surround that edges the lobby, and then the concealed grid system, which is outlined in red, which is what they like to replace with a smooth gypsum board. And I apologize, it does not show up well on these photographs, but in the upper left corner, this is not a lobby photo, but it is similar to what the concealed grid system looks like in the lobby. So the renovations will be pretty widespread throughout the 1949 building, and all of the ceilings, I imagine, will be getting some sort of treatment. So this is relegated only to this particular lobby on the first floor is where you can see the arrow in the bottom right where it's located. So staff is recommending preliminary certification of the Bailey Bill conditional upon retention of the lobby ceiling, the project meeting or exceeding the 20% investment threshold requirements, all work meeting the standards for work as outlined in the City Ordinance Section 1769A, and all details deferred to staff. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ritchie. Is there anyone with any questions on the commission?
Assuming the requirement is, or understanding that there's a 20% investment threshold on this particular piece of this project, what else is included that would, what else is being changed that would actually impact that percentage?
Turn your mic on, sir. Thank you.
My name is Robert Lewis, and I represent the Siebel's Bruce Company. We did have some discussion about that issue. This is one of those unusual historic renovations where almost everything historically in the building is intact. However, the renovation to the historic building, the estimate for the entire renovation is about 3.4 million because there's roofing and mechanical system update. So, you know, we take the position that the mechanical systems as well as the lobby repairs and in some later phases, we'll be doing some window replacement or window reglazing and whatnot. So the way we look at this is all of that would add up to meet the threshold. It would not be just what work is being done to this specific historic lobby. So I guess that was a long answer to your question, but the short answer to your
Yeah.
question is we believe it's a $3.4 million renovation, which meets the threshold.
That's not a condition for the lobby expense. That's a general condition for the whole project.
Okay.
Just as the typical language for a Bailey bill approval.
So the entire budget applies to the stipulation of 20%, not just what we're approving in terms of this area. I think that's what you
Not just
said.
the lobby.
Okay.
No, it's not just the lobby, no. And mechanical systems and roofs are very typical Bailey bill expenses.
Sure.
As far as the window replacement or reglazing, that will be proposed, but that would come before you.
Yeah, that is not in this phase. So that would, again, be a later phase that would come before you.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Presentation
I
tonight?
don't really have a presentation other than, you know, what she has shown. The only thing, we accept and understand those recommendations concerning the concealed grid ceiling. The only thing that I would ask, we will have to take that concealed grid ceiling down because we're putting new mechanical systems behind it. And I'm not sure that we'll be able to preserve enough of it to put the original back. The only thing that I would ask is that we be allowed to replace it with a comparable concealed grid system that matches the historic appearance of the existing.
Staff would comment that on their, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but on their visit to the building, it seemed that there were other areas of the building that had the same material. So perhaps reusing other material within the building that is of the same era and type may be an alternative that better meets the ordinance because you're still using original materials.
Yeah, and I think we can do that. I just, as a practical matter, you know, when you get involved in dismantling everything and putting it back together, it may not work. So we would like at least to have some leeway with the staff to pursue a new concealed grid ceiling system that would match the original if possible, if we cannot have enough of the original fabric to replace it.
There are a lot of systems out there that are very similar. It's a product that hasn't gone away, you know, over time. So I personally wouldn't have any particular concern about that. Is this building, I should know the answer, is this building a landmark?
Yes.
Okay. So the issues relative to window glazing, and I would hope it would just be glazing, but glazing replacement would be the same whether it is under the Bailey bill or just a landmark building in the city center. So that issue wouldn't change. The only thing that's different now is that the DDRC has purview over salient interior features and spaces. Right? Okay.
Correct.
This is one of my favorite buildings in the city, and I think that it's a great example of a building by a firm that crossed an entire spectrum of architectural styles in the course of their practice. So you know, it's a lovely lobby. It's a very important building. I'm glad it appears that it's going to be in good hands.
Yeah, and if you've never been in the building, and I've been in Columbia 35 years, I'd never been in the building until they hired me to represent them, but you walk in the lobby, and it literally is exactly like it was in 1949 or whatever the year was, and the bathrooms are exactly the same as they were, you know, and those will all be retained, so it's a cool building.
Very good. I will note,
Thank you.
if I may, the presence now of Mr. Heiler, who has joined us here on the commission, for the record. Are there any more questions or comments on this particular project? Is there anyone here in opposition to this? Is there a motion? What do you say, Tom?
I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary certification for the Bailey bill for 115 Saluda Avenue with the following conditions.
Sorry, wrong address.
Oh, okay. Then I'm also going to make the wrong comments.
1501. 1501.
Where is it?
Here we go.
Bottom of the second page.
No.
There we go. Okay. I will make a motion that we provide preliminary certification for the Bailey bill for 1501 Lady Street upon the following conditions: that the project meets or exceeds the 20% investment threshold requirement for qualified rehabilitation expenses, that the work meets the standards for work as outlined in Section 17-698A, and that all details be deferred to staff.
Yeah,
And let me add also conditional upon retention of the lobby ceiling as discussed.
very good. Is there a second?
I'll second that, but I also have a question. During
Okay,
the discussion.
all right, very good. Is there a discussion?
So as we were talking about the ceiling, and I think you agreed that you could find, there are two options: to either use other bits of ceiling on other floors or try to replace it in general. So just to clarify that. And that would be worked out with the staff as best we can with the client.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, that's good with me.
Very good. I think we'll have you repeat that motion with
Okay.
clarity on the ceiling matter, please.
It's 1501. Okay. I would move that we approve preliminary certification of the Bailey bill for 1501 Lady Street, conditional upon retention of the lobby ceiling, specifically either reuse of other pieces of the same ceiling system in other parts of the building, and/or replacement in kind with a matching contemporary ceiling system, that the project meets or exceeds the 20% investment threshold requirements for qualified rehabilitation expenses, that it meets the standards for work as outlined in Section 17-698A, and that all details be deferred to staff.
Second.
I'll second.
We have 2 seconds on the motion, and we'll take a vote by roll, please.
Mr. Gressett,
Yes.
Mr. Herger,
Yes.
Mr. Heiler,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Savory,
Yes?
Mr. Nguyen.
Yes,
Motion passes.
very good. Having applied all the facts to all the guidelines, the motion has passed. We will now take up
2127, 2133 Divine Street.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, on this project, I'll have to recuse myself because our firm is involved with the design and development of this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gressett. We will have quorum
We will
without
indeed.
Mr. Gressett. Thank you. All right, would you read that case, please?
Sure.
You'll have to leave the...
2127 and 2133 Divine Street is the project. This is in the Five Points Urban Design District. The use currently is one existing retail building and one existing residential building that are both vacant. And the request is for approval for new construction of a approximately 5,000 square foot student ministry center for the Shandon Baptist Church. And Linda Boylan is here to present the project. Oops. Yeah, I think it's before, right?
Thank you very much. I have such a love-hate relationship with technology.
We'll just have you read, or state your name again, please.
I'm Linda Boylan with Stevens & Wilkinson,
Thank you.
and the project, as mentioned, is a approximately 5,000 square foot student center for Shandon Baptist Church on Divine Street. We started the design of the project really with looking at context and also by reviewing the design guidelines
Mhm.
for the Five Points area. And that's really kind of what drove what we come up with. I don't want to take too much time, but looking at the site plan, we did decide to locate the building on the high side of the site and pull it forward. That was based on the design guidelines, really trying to enliven that street frontage. Also, we tucked the parking back in the back. That also is addressing the design guidelines. The floor plan is pretty straightforward and simple. It's really a large activity space. It's flanked on two sides with a kind of a pre-function area with an indoor fireplace. And on those same two sides, there's a lot of glass opening out to covered patios and an outdoor fireplace. The front facade is kind of a modulation of solids and voids, pretty transparent. We're looking at something that we think can enliven that street, add some transparency. Stepped it down in the front to help break down that mass. It's a pretty simple hip roof. Some of the other elevations. And then some of the exterior materials. One of the things we're doing that's a little unique is we are doing our roof drainage with some rain chains, you know, kind of the deep overhangs, kind of a nice feel. And then the signage in the front. Using that to kind of screen the outdoor areas a little bit, but still keep them open. Oops. Any questions? Oh, yeah. For those of you that are more tactile.
Mhm. Very good. Any questions from the commission?
I had one question. Just now, looking at the presentation, the glass, the glazing, it's rendered as green, but will it be clear? Clear low E?
Yes.
Okay. Not tinted? In.
That really is really directly from my Revit model. It's not rendered.
Okay. Okay.
And just as a note from staff, the comments in your packet reflect what was originally submitted during the application deadline, but we have been working with the applicant over the last couple of weeks to try to, I guess, resolve some of the issues on the east elevation. So the last perspective that you saw
Sorry.
in the presentation does reflect some of the changes that have been made since. Here you can see the east elevation, which is different than what was originally submitted. So just so y'all notice that.
What are these pieces that, it's actually, they look like shadow boxes at the top of these as you said, mass elements.
It's all part of the window, isn't it?
Okay, okay,
And those will be uplit and kind of have some color and a little,
okay. So they're closet clear stories.
sorry. Yes, they are clear stories.
I do have a question. Are your mechanicals located?
On the east side of the building, there's a parapet, and they're on the roof behind that parapet. We really did try to not have any of the mechanical equipment visible. We've tucked things on the roof or in the back.
Are they illustrated in this model?
Yes.
Those three?
Okay. Very
Are
good.
those to scale? Any idea?
Yeah, they are, and they actually are built behind that wall in the model when you look at the rendering. So they're built to scale there as well.
What is the soffit material on that deep overhang?
Metal. The undersoffit is a wood product.
Up at the top?
Yeah,
But the lower, that predominant one that is at the top of the glass, that sort of,
that's metal.
okay. And you're proposing that it's brown metal? We don't have purview over color, that's the idea?
Yeah, a bronzy color. I think the
Okay.
rain chains are going to be a Corten steel.
Okay.
It's noted here that there is not a vehicular service entry or dumpster. How are you planning to service the building in that manner?
We're planning on using a couple of, they don't anticipate having large amounts of trash, and they're going to use the rolling bins, a couple of the rolling bins. This door here on the east elevation was also for service. You can pull up and service the building from there or from the back.
Okay. Any thoughts or questions from the commission? Is there anyone here in opposition to this project? Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on this project as it has been presented?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion that we approve 21, I'm sorry,
That's correct.
am I in the right spot? 2127 and 2133 Divine Street for certificate of design approval based on the following recommendations of staff, that modifications to the east building elevation as illustrated in the renderings provided today, incorporating brick fenestration and ensuring the architectural concept carried through this facade, that site lighting plan be provided, and that other architectural and site details be deferred to staff.
Very good. Is there a second?
Could we add, I mean, I think we were told that it was the case, but could we add that it also, that the glazing be clear glazing, non-tinted glazing?
Very good. Is there a second on this motion with the addition that it be clear glazing?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. And any further discussion? Vote by roll, please.
Mr. Gressett, Mr. Herger,
Yes.
Mr. Heiler, Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Savory,
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen.
Yes,
Motion passes.
very good. Thank you very much. I think we will now have just a presentation. Or
Under other business, there's an update on a project called Public Life/Public Space that Mr. Fellows will give you.
Very good.
I'll try to make this short so I'll go home and enjoy the blue skies. I'm sure you might be familiar, we're a Knight community, and the Knight Foundation is a foundation that comes out of the Knight Ridder communications company. And So as the benefit of them having their company here at one time and then having that foundation, they have a fund here in Columbia, and they will provide gifts and various benefits to the community. And so they have been working with the Central Carolina Community Foundation, and the Knight Foundation has provided a substantial amount of money, as well as a consultant to come to Columbia and study the public spaces here in Columbia. The firm is based out of New York and Copenhagen. It's a firm that I think the project in the U.S. you'd be familiar with is the transformation of Times Square from a very highly automotive square, even though there wasn't really a square, crossroads of traffic, to actually having plazas and seating and things like that. And one of their things is they actually look at it from a way that they can actually implement without spending a lot of public infrastructure money, that over time that space can be developed. So that's one of their expertises. And so they have actually come to Columbia in September and gotten familiar with it, and they're going to be coming back the first week of November on Thursday the 5th and Saturday the 7th to be studying the public spaces here in downtown, the vista towards the university and up towards Bull Street. And so we have that project. They'll be presenting the results of that in January. And the unique thing is they're going to actually, for a 12-hour period, so on Thursday from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, and on Saturday from 10 in the morning to 10 at night, we'll actually, somebody in each of these public spaces will actually be studying how many pedestrians there are, bicyclists, diagramming how the spaces are used, who's using them, whether you have kids or families or business people, whatever it might be, and really looking at how those spaces are used so that we can then make them better public spaces. The reason for this sort of announcement is that we are looking for volunteers. So we basically have planning staff, and then we have the one staff person that is at that firm. But to study, we're going to study 10 public spaces, so we need 60 volunteers. So we're looking for people to donate about 4 hours of their time on one of those 2 days to do that. And it shouldn't, the 4 hours seems really long, but the way it's set up, you'll do something for 10 minutes, and then you'll do something else for 10 minutes. There'll actually be like a walkabout you can actually do around the space. So you'll be moving, doing different things, so that, and then kind of repeating that process. So it won't be like you're sitting in one spot for 4 hours. There's actually a process that goes through that. So some of you may have already received an email from me. If not, you'll get a new email or a double email for being on the DDRC, so that you can sign up if you can find the time. And then if you can share that information with colleagues and friends, that would be great. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Can you give those days and dates?
Sure. It is Thursday, the 5th of November, and Saturday, the 7th of November. And Thursday, it will be 7 in the morning till 7 at night for 4-hour blocks sequentially. And then Saturday will be 10 to 10. And before each session, we will conduct a training session for about 20 minutes and then give you time to get to your space. So about 45 minutes before your space. So if you pick the 7 a.m. on Thursday, we will have a training session at 6:15 in the morning, and then for about 20 minutes, and then let you move along. Or if you pick a late evening one on Saturday, it would be kind of the same thing, so that we're trying to compact it so you don't have to like come on multiple days to training and whatever.
Where will you convene for the training? And
the training is going to be in the conference room of the Lincoln Street Garage, right across from the police station. And when you sign up, all that information's there, the dates, you'll be able to pick your time, you'll get an email, all that stuff will be there. So I'll send you the link, and you'll have all that right there at your availability. So,
Any contingencies for weather, bad or good? Just, it's all part of the,
we were going to do it this week, but we moved it due to the water situation
Yeah.
to November. But if it's raining or
snow.
if, you know, if it's unsafe, we'll deal with it from that perspective. But if it's 80 or 50 or 100 or whatever the temperature might be, we would be doing it that time, so.
Okay. Any questions? No? I think that is our meeting. Are there any other questions or matters to take up? We do have minutes to approve. Minutes of the, forget how long ago it was, September 10th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion that the minutes be approved as distributed.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Vote by roll, please.
Mr. Gressett?
Yes.
Mr. Herger?
Yes.
Mr. Hyler? Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes.
We have a motion that passed.
Very good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second?
Very good. We are adjourned.
I just wanted to say thank you all for making time for this extra meeting in your schedule. We appreciate it.
Glad to do it. Thank you all.